All right, welcome everyone to ActiveProspect's Insurance Perspective webinar, Outreach AI and the TCPA with CSG's Jeff Piotrowski. We're excited to have you with us. I am Andrew Bailey, a content strategist here at ActiveProspect, and I am happy to be back moderating our final webinar of 2025 today. But before we jump into the action, let's go over some quick housekeeping notes. On the right of your screen, you'll see two icons. One says chat, the other says questions. The chat icon is for reactions and general comments. And most importantly to note, I'm going to pin a comment in the chat now for anyone who would like to continue the conversation after the webinar. There we go. And the questions icon is where you'll submit any questions you have for our two expert panelists today. We'll try to address some periodically, but rest assured, we've saved some time for a Q&A at the end. Also, we'll be tossing a few polls your way to help shape our conversation today. And if for any reason you have to drop off the webinar early, no worries. A recording will be sent your way tomorrow. Now, let's meet the experts that everyone is here to see. Matt, Jeff, tell the audience a little bit about yourselves.
Jeff, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Also, that was the first time I got to see that video. That was a sick drop, as the kids say. You guys are gonna have to send me that music bite. So hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Piotrowski. I'm Chief Customer Officer at CSG. I've spent the last well over a decade working alongside insurance providers to use data and technology to solve complex challenges across the policyholder lifecycle. And I oversee commercial operations here at Customer Solutions Group, which is an outreach services provider and connections provider, getting insurance brands in touch with their current and future customers.
Love it. And I am Matt Fraser, General Manager of Insurance at ActiveProspect. Over my career, I've worked in performance marketing, contact solutions, and insurtech startups. Today, I lead our insurance business here at ActiveProspect with really one goal, and that's to help the industry acquire customers more efficiently and more compliantly at scale. I am personally thrilled that, Jeff, you're joining today. For those of you who don't know, Jeff and I go way back, and I'm just really excited that you're here, and we're going to dive into a whole bunch of topics and have some great content built out. So thank you very much for joining.
Of course. Happy to be here.
And Jeff, you think you want that music sent to you, but eventually it's going to be stuck in your head worse than Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas. Like that's all you're going to hear when you wake up now.
That's fair. That's fair. I rescind my request. I opt
out. Thank you for those introductions, guys. Now let's dive in. Jeff, CSG works with carriers and agents every day to streamline outreach. Let's start big picture with a loaded question. What's the biggest challenge insurance organizations face when trying to move leads quickly without sacrificing compliance?
I thought you were going to give me easy ones here, Andrew. So I would probably say consistency remains the largest challenge for insurance organizations today, specifically with regard to lead acquisition and working those leads. So how leads are purchased, how they're generated, how they're worked, what is said to them, when, how often it's said to them, across channels. So if you think about different carriers that are leveraging not only captive agent channels, but direct channels, as well as independent agent channels, there's very little visibility into how those leads are worked. And there's even less consistency into how those leads are worked because there's so many different businesses and stakeholders that are influencing that decision. So inconsistency makes it really, really hard for those that are trying to optimize a lead program, make a dent in improvement. So I think you had mentioned too, without sacrificing compliance. I think consistency actually buoys compliance. And I think a systematic approach can be audited, it can be optimized, it can be altered to meet new requirements. So I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive. I think what you might have juxtaposed there is the need to move quickly with the need for compliance.
Yeah.
So yes, speed to lead is critical. That's why recording proof of opt-in at the front end of a lead purchase, or even when you're generating your leads yourself, that's important. And then you must have an LMS in place that allows you to triage treatment of those leads by what you're permitted to do with them. That's why compliance is interesting at the front end because it influences everything that you can do thereafter. We have manual calling groups, for example, at CSG for things like aged quotes and trigger leads, all the way up to AI-driven voice and SMS to create orchestrated and efficient outreach at scale when permitted to do so, right? That's important. So having the right data is critical, and then having the ability to act on what allows you to maintain speed without skipping those important steps is probably what I'd say is a fix for some of that inconsistency challenge.
Yeah, and I'll build on that, Jeff, too, because I think you really did hit the nail on the head on that one. You can't move fast if you don't trust the data that you're working, right? So for most organizations, I think the biggest challenge isn't just speed to lead or compliance. It's the disconnect between how leads are secured or generated and how they're worked. I think an interesting point there that you laid out is that you can put different treatments and different strategies based on how that consumer enters the funnel. Because you have co-reg and trigger leads that you spoke about and full form leads, quotes. So there's just a lot of different ways to handle those, and compliance is the foundation to moving quickly across the board so that you can feel confident in your approach and your outreach strategies.
I still think there's a stigma there. So like, how do you help carriers see compliance not as red tape, but as a competitive differentiator that builds trust and helps boost conversions?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's this old adage about life insurance in particular, that it is a product that is sold, not bought, right?
Yeah.
While that's pithy and a fun catchphrase to put on a bumper sticker, and I believe on the face of it, I think that I get what they're trying to get at there, but I'm not sure I agree with the sentiment of it. So while some products may require more education than others, my belief is sales and customer acquisition is about helping people buy something, not selling it to them. So this carries over to what you're talking about, creating competitive differentiation. It's also core to our mission at CSG to get insurance brands connected to their current and future customers, both responsibly and ethically. So what does that mean more broadly? Well, we only contact people that want to be contacted, and we contact them during the hours that are permissible for them. And we honor requests to cease communications immediately if they so choose. It's the golden rule. It's do unto others as you would have done unto you. And as consumers, what type of experience would we appreciate? And this approach has been part of our success, not only in making more meaningful connections for our clients, but also from a compliance standpoint. So we've never had a TCPA lawsuit or a regulatory inquiry in our company history. And after making millions and millions of phone calls and sending millions and millions of texts, we've learned that compliance is, yes, it's good business, but going above and beyond what's legal to what would you prefer if you were in the shoes of the customer? That's how you can focus on the people who need you most while also creating a great customer experience of everybody that you interact with, regardless of whether they end up your customer or not, right?
That's an incredible stat, Jeff. I love to hear that.
Yeah, it was a great way to phrase it too.
For a long time.
Like,
so that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, just treat people like people.
Yeah, and I can't take all the credit for it. I've only been a CSG a year, but in 31 years, never a lawsuit or regulatory inquiry. Yeah, and to your point, Andrew, it's just by doing the right things and having programs in place to support it.
Yeah, and I think some people are going to run into issues if they're doing it manually or if they're automating their outreach processes. And that's going to lead us perfectly into our first poll of the day. How would you describe your current outreach process? Manual and reactive, semi-automated with human review, fully automated? Not sure where to start. Please get those votes in now. We're going to circle back to the results shortly. While people are voting, Matt, for companies that want to operationalize compliance across multiple agents and campaigns, where should they start? What's the first process you'd look to automate?
Yeah, I think the first place to start is at the very beginning of the lead's life cycle, right? The moment that consent is captured and where that lead is being generated and how, right? So if you can't verify where a lead's coming from, what disclosures were shown, what the consumer actually agreed to, then everything else downstream is guesswork. And then that also opens up to a lot of risk. So one step is making consent collection consistent, centralized, and automated. And then whether you're buying leads or generating them yourself, right? So first and third parties, it really is important. I know I talk to a lot of buyers who are buying and acquiring third-party records, and they have a treatment for those, right? And then they have their own in-house environments and lead generation that they're doing themselves, and sometimes they don't treat them the same. And so when we look at and we talk to buyers, we always really drive home that it's important to get consent for your first party leads too. From there, the next thing is to audit that consent, right? So one of the great features that we have at ActiveProspect for TrustedForm is the ability to audit all of your TCPA consent languages and see the playbacks anytime you want. So we always let our buyers and anyone that's contacting leads know that it's good practice to audit what you're doing before you run into a situation where someone's hitting you up and going, hey, I think we have an infraction here. And then you look at that recording and you're like, oh, this isn't good, right? So being proactive in your audit is really, really paramount. And then, from there, I think it's just putting those pieces together, and then you have a scalable, compliant foundation. And then that will then lead to performance and how you optimize and change your outreach strategies from there.
Yeah, quickly, just to add to that, I think we view compliance through this somewhat negative or inhibiting lens, right? But if you do it right, then that actually opens up your ability to market to these people in different ways. So if you feel really good about your compliance posture and about the opt-ins that you've created and collected and have the ability to furnish at the drop of a hat, then you can market to those folks in the way that you want to and in the way that they would most appreciate. So you can use phone calls, you can use SMS without worry of getting complaints or your inability to defend yourself against tactics that you've taken as a marketing team. And that leads to better results, to Matt's point. So in our experience, whenever phone and SMS is used in concert with one another, connection rates double. So that's where compliance can be sort of a secret weapon, is if you lean into it and you feel really good about your posture there, that'll actually benefit you from a performance standpoint.
Let's circle back to the results of that poll really quick. Blair, if you pull those on screen. Oh, nice. It looks like most people are already fully automated. That's fantastic. But we still see a few that are semi-automated and a few are manual and reactive. And thank goodness there's nobody that's not sure where to start. It's a big benefit. Glad you're here. Moving on now. Matt, you have boots on the ground. Literally, what are you seeing as commonplace in terms of automation and compliance within outreach processes as we head toward 2026?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been to a trade show or a conference in the last 1 or 2 years, you can't go far without learning how AI is changing the game in outreach, right? So there's a lot to still be determined around AI, how consent plays into that, the regulations, and how it plays within the process. And there are a lot of smart people in our industry who are making meaningful strides in AI. There's no doubt about that. But I also say that calling and texting has been a proven method for the last decade. And what you just said there, I think was really important to know, that doing both of those methods in concert can really change how your strategy is working in the performance down funnel. So that's really good to hear that you're doing that. And then looking forward in 2026, I think over the last few years we've had those same conversations about budgets. I think we're all feeling really good about budgets. So that's a good thing. Technologies are continuing to get better. Data enhancements are definitely making things more efficient. I'm excited personally for some new offerings that we're making here around consent gathering for different channel mixes that we're going to be hopefully bringing into 2026, because there are still state and federal regulations that are changing constantly. So all that to be said, I'm really looking forward to 2026.
Say, We're going to have a little bit more on AI later. I mean, if you think you're coming to a webinar in 2025, we're not going to talk about AI at the end of this. You got
Right.
another thing coming. But until we get there, shifting gears a little bit, Jeff, how can better data transparency empower smarter outreach and compliance decisions at scale?
So is the question, what use cases do you have for great data? Is that
That
kind of
sounds
what
ideal.
Yeah. So, I didn't mention this in my intro, but I spent 10 years at Verisk prior to this. So I was on the data side for many, many moons. And I can speak firsthand to what wonders good data can do for those that know how to deploy it, and how useless it can be if you don't have a way to execute on it effectively. So good data at its best can aid in upfront segmentation and routing. It can, cleaning data can help you improve agent time management and lower your acquisition costs, which directly impacts your operating expenses and can lower your combined ratio if you're considering, things like that as we emerged from the profitability cycle that insurance has been in. Good data can dictate outreach strategy. So which channel, what permissions do I have? What would be most effective? What is the least amount of cost, et cetera? It can inform what's said to consumers during and even after the initial conversation. And as we just discussed, it can help to protect brands against frivolous lawsuits from plaintiff attorneys. So I'd say good data is the difference between an acceptable customer experience and a world-class one. But as I said, good data is only as good as your ability to house it in an accessible way and to deploy it effectively.
It's like in insurance, it's common to see many carriers struggle because agents are running around in the field with their own businesses while the mothership sends in leads without visibility. So how does that real-time data change that picture and help with alignment?
Yeah, data sharing certainly helps, and clean data ensures a clean entry point for the agent, and that's all good. So it's great to know that this lead has the right contact information. It's likely to convert. It's actually asked to be contacted, right? So
Yes.
I think real-time data can help with making sure the agent's set up for success. The challenge that I've experienced for many years with those that are worried about their field operations is visibility beyond the lead. So how is that lead being worked? Like, if you just think about it imagine having to make decisions at an enterprise level with no dependable measurement other than whether a quote was given or whether a sale occurred.
Sounds like 1985.
Yeah, well, but still today, as a result of agent channels, and they're all running their businesses, like, there are good reasons for this, guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's an unenviable position that many marketers at carriers are in today still, but it's easy to see why. And if you can't count on the data coming back to you from those executing the outreach, or if it requires a Herculean effort to normalize the data and make it comparable for analysis, then you're already starting behind the starting line.
Yeah.
And others are naturally ahead of you if they can clean, organize, normalize, and compare their data across channels, across agencies, et cetera. So even with centralized lead marketplaces, downline agencies are built and behave very differently. So as we said, that results in a lot of variability in how leads are being worked, how many times they're contacted, how long the time is in between attempts, when do they abandon the lead, what is said to the lead when they're contacted. All of that inconsistency and a lack of visibility makes it difficult to understand the current state, and the variability in that follow-up process makes it darn near impossible to optimize. So,
And is that just specific to like disposition feedback, or is that all the way down funnel to close feedback?
yeah, everything. I would say in my experience, folks have pretty good lines of sight into 3 KPIs post lead being acquired or generated: contact, quote, bind, or close, right? But close is the only one that is clean enough to really make decisions off of. And quote data can be a little bit variable. Contact data we know is incomplete. And so it makes it really, really tough to make decisions about how to optimize a lead program when there's so much variability downstream from the decisions that you're making.
Can you imagine how much better the performance would be on these campaigns if they had that visibility? It's crazy. Think about it. I mean,
if only there was a company that could create systematic outreach across all of these lead campaigns. No.
so happy you're here.
It was a good sell.
Yeah.
How has CSG used A/B testing to eliminate some of that variability?
Yeah. And so you heard me talk about optimization, and
Yeah.
proper A/B testing is really core to our success, guys. So when you see in our marketing that we've averaged 20+% lift in existing program throughput over the last 3 decades, it's not necessarily because we've got the most connection tools of anyone in the country, or that over 30 years we've acquired and know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Those things certainly help, but they're ingredients to our success. But the main reason that our clients stick with us, and the main reason that we can create so much incremental value, is something that all of us can apply. It's because we remain committed to isolating variables and A/B testing. It's what our entire platform was built on. And it may not be the most exciting or revelatory thing to say in a webinar, like, hey, A/B testing is great, but we often confuse simple for easy.
Yeah.
So insurance marketers have so much going on. They have to find lead volume for the call center that day because there's extra capacity, or they need to grow in one state but not in another. They're managing mandates from product, from compliance. They're managing personnel. They're keeping their ear to the ground on the regulatory landscape, the advent of AI. And amidst all this, we're asking them to remain focused, clear-headed, and patient enough to test one thing, see it through, measure results, choose the best performer, and begin the process all over again. It's hard, right? So it's that commitment that we at CSG find to be a real differentiator. It's simple, it's powerful, but it's not easy. And it's especially difficult if you don't have the adequate data and infrastructure in place to support it. I don't know how people would do it.
Are you able to provide that level of data and insight? So are you just basically looking at different methodologies or strategies that you're using to employ against that, and then basically saying, here are the things that are working, here aren't?
You got it. It's nothing secret saucy. It is, we choose a starting point for each campaign that is rooted in what we've seen be successful with others, but no two clients are the same. We've got a good starting point, and we immediately implement a test and control group. And then we test challenger versus champion over and over and over again. And those can be things as simple as, hey, I'd like to institute a new media. So we're just making phone calls. Let's send SMS on top of it. Or, hey, I'd like to make one additional phone call. Or I'd like to adjust the scripting and messaging associated with this. Or I'd like to change the call to action in my SMS from, would you like an agent to call you now, to redirecting them to a URL to retrieve their quote. Things like that are the little tinkering that we're doing to just stack small wins on top of one another, which creates double-digit % improvements over what people can accomplish in-house or using third-party partners.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to kind of draw that out and really focus on what you guys are doing to differentiate, right? So if you think about it at its most basic level, right? An agent gets a lead, and they might call it now, they might call it in a little bit, right? There's not really any standardization or real strategy behind what they're doing, right? It's just like, hey, I got a lead, let's just call it. But what you're doing is you're saying, let us handle that in the best way possible to get the best performance out of it, and then handing it to you.
That's right. Yeah, we focus on the sliver that is often forgotten. Brands spend so much generating or acquiring leads and cleaning them and making sure they're compliant and high quality. All of that stuff is very, very important. They also focus on getting their product pricing and their product mix in place, and their customer service experience and their claims experience to be stellar. That's very important too. But often we forget or sort of sideline, hey, how are we going to get people engaged with our messaging? And how are we going to measure if it's successful? That's what we've spent our time in. But there's no like clear-cut way to say this other than doing all of these things is very important. Because if you supply to CSG or any company, bad phone numbers, or people that are unlikely to convert, or people that didn't consent to be contacted. Those are 3 problems that are going to lead to bad results and lawsuits. Something that nobody wants, right? So you need that up funnel hygiene, that up funnel enrichment in order for your downstream processes to be just as successful and effective.
In your lead acquisition, right? I mean, I think that's such an important piece to saying, hey, it's easy to make an assumption if 4 of my agents are calling leads, right, from a specific provider.
Yeah.
And they could get different results because there's not a standard approach. But what you're saying is we can provide a standardized approach that allows you to more holistically view your lead acquisition and say, here's what's working and here's what's not. And allows the marketers to make sure that they're buying leads and attracting customers the right way so that you can show what you.
The other important takeaway, and again, I really hesitate to turn this into a commercial for CSG, so I'm trying to steer us away from it. But the other takeaway that I think we've seen a lot of success in is to not be married to any specific technology or any specific media, right? We've got AI on our platform. We're not an AI company. We send text messages. We're not an SMS firm. We make phone calls. We're not a BPO or anything, right? We are focused on generating the best connections at the lowest cost. And by having a number of different tools in your toolkit that you can test against one another, you can afford to be agnostic and just see what the results tell you. So that's an important takeaway for others too, is try not to be too biased towards any one medium.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only reason I say this is because I have such a past history in my career of this type of service.
I think you and I just exchanged roles at different companies is basically what we figured out.
Within like a 2-week period, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
So makes for a great conversation always.
Matt, I think you touched on this a little bit already, but how does having a platform that can move leads quickly and make split-second routing decisions help eliminate bottlenecks in the lead funnel and just kind of make it all flow smoother?
Yeah. And obviously, so in my history, I have what Jeff's doing and all, that work. And then I also, my other favorite thing is kind of this middleware, right? Of connecting the dots between what buyers are doing and what sellers are generating, right? So there is a ton of benefits from using a middleware platform like Lead Conduit, for example. And I won't do a sales pitch either on that, but there's a real need for a proper intake and routing, right? So some of the key things that I always think about is integration efficiency, right? So a lot of carriers, specifically carriers, it is a real process to procure a new lead generation partner, right? So today it's really easy to say, hey, I want to go work with this aggregator or lead generation partner, then go through that procurement process, right? It's not quick. And then you got to then get tech resources to build it and then run it. And that could take up to a year, believe it or not. And what we're finding is, what they see is after a couple of weeks, you're like, oh, this isn't working. And it's like, start back. So being able to have an efficient intake or integration service there speeds that process up incredibly to weeks or even quicker, right? So you can procure, and that allows you to then deepen your portfolio and broaden out who you work with and test partners. So you have that whole thing. Then you have lead decisioning. So there's a lot of things now that you can do before that record ever hits your LMS or your CRM, right? You can make buying decisions. You can actually write price leads, clicks, calls before they come in. You can also check to make sure that they aren't already a customer or you didn't just buy them 2 minutes ago, right? So there's that benefit as well. And then lead routing. Today, there's a lot of endpoints that exist, right? CSG, perfect example of a contact solution that could be routed in real time to Jeff's company, and they can call immediately how they do or reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Others, you can go to LMS, CRM. So there's a lot of different endpoints. So being able to take that consumer in real time within seconds or milliseconds through an entire process of decisioning and routing, there's a huge benefit there. And I think with something like a middleware, that allows you to be so much more agile and flexible when it comes to this whole entire program.
Now, I know both of you are trying to avoid talking about products and you don't want to sound like a commercial, but I'm about to lob this softball over the plate, so we can take this wherever you want to go. Now, most attendees are probably a little bit more familiar with opt-in consent technology, such as TrustedForm. It's a wonderful product. But Jeff, let's talk a little bit about opt-out technology and why it's important to incorporate both.
Man, you're giving me these lobs, these tee ups. I will do my best, everybody, to try and make this educational. So I'll zoom out. Actually, before I hop in, I should also state that the following are my personal opinion
There you
and
go.
interpretation. I'm not a lawyer, though I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night and all that stuff. No, in all seriousness, please consult your counsel for more information if you're really interested on this, and we can put you in touch with our counsel if you'd like to. But here are the highlights. So in April, the FCC expanded the opt-out standard that advertisers must adhere to when sending text messages. So prior to April, the law required brands to comply with opt-out requests that used one of 7 keywords. So we're all familiar with stop, unsubscribe, cancel, end, quit, revoke, and opt out. Those became so universally adopted that many cell carriers now recognize those words and just opt you out automatically without any further action from the advertiser. Well, now the FCC requires brands to adhere to a reasonable person standard for opt-outs, meaning if an ordinary person reads the text that an advertiser sends and the consumer reply and determines that the consumer's intent is to opt out, that's an opt-out request. But what happens if the consumer said a phrase instead of a keyword or didn't use any of the normal keywords at all? Well, it wasn't long for us at CSG and others to realize that this law and existing opt-out management procedures can't possibly support a reasonable person standard. So we're already seeing class action lawsuits piling up from what I think TCPA world called keyword avoiders. So people that are deliberately trying to not use the keywords that have been, tried and true, and trying to circumvent that while still clearly being an opt-out request. And at CSG, we built a detection engine that we use for our SMS solutions to protect ourselves and our clients called Opt-Out IQ. And it uses AI to discern whether a person intends to cease the conversation. And it signals our platform to opt out the consumer from subsequent CSG communications from that campaign universally across calls and SMS. And when we saw our clients scrambling to comply with the law that we were already compliant with on the campaigns that they were engaged with us for, we chose to make the opt-out engine externally facing. So whether you buy our SMS services or not, you could have this sit on top of your CRM or your SMS provider and still get the benefit. It's a part of our mission to help with generating responsible and ethical connections. So if your in-house CRM sends great SMS, but you know that your CRM can't interpret, I would prefer if you would no longer contact me, or worse yet, a poop emoji as an opt-out request.
That's what I send.
You can lean on
Middle finger.
Opt-Out IQ to detect a reasonable person opt-out request and flag it immediately for you.
All right.
Yeah, super interesting there.
Yeah, that's going to lead us right into our second poll of the day. How confident are you in your current opt-in and opt-out processes? Very confident in both, somewhat confident, not confident, please help. Opt what? Please get your votes in now. We're going to circle back to the results shortly. Jeff, you mentioned that Opt-Out IQ can sit on top of an in-house CRM or an existing SMS solution. How does that flexibility make it easier for carriers to adopt without disrupting their workflows?
Well, so I would say, firstly, I think AI, TCPA data platforms, I think somebody on the line must have marketing lingo bingo here. I think I largely tried to cover it. It's making sure that people that love their platforms or find the performance coming from those platforms are adequate, without disrupting their ability to use those platforms, and then also still get the benefit of something like an opt-out IQ is probably the genesis for what we made it externally facing for.
Awesome. Now let's go ahead and circle back to those results. Blair, if you'll push those on the screen, please. There we go. Oh, there we go. Most people here are confident. It's good to have you with us. Nobody's not confident, and everybody understood what we meant. So that's even better. If there were some opt-what votes, I'd be deeply concerned. So I'm glad those aren't existing right now. Now, I mentioned earlier, it wouldn't be a 2025 webinar if we didn't talk about AI a little bit more. So to bring it home here, Jeff, how does AI factor into this process while serving more as an ally and not a crutch? Because I think people still kind of view it as this emerging technology and just have a little reluctance in incorporating it.
No, I think you hit on it, right? It's a sidecar. It's not the thing. It's AI, at least in its current state, is a great tool. It's just not the best tool for every job. So because we have every flavor of human and AI outreach tools across calls and SMS, we've done the comparisons. And currently we're seeing a few leading use cases in certain media responding best. So for example, initial outreach. So say lead follow-up. There is still no better way to drive the most connections than with human-to-human telephone calls. And doubly so if you supplement that with SMS, as I said. So once the consumer receives their quote, though, AI-driven SMS does a great job of continuing to educate the consumer and warm them up to a purchase decision. We're also finding that AI is great at benefit awareness campaigns for existing customer outreach. So making them aware of ePay or signing up for an online account or making them aware of a benefit of being a customer that they may not be aware of. That's a great use case for AI-driven SMS, with the option to speak to a human or direct them back to a website as the call to action. So that's a potent 1-2 punch. I would say AI voice has come a long way in a short time. We've been monitoring that market for years, and we decided it was mature enough to incorporate onto our platform last year. We're currently finding that the best use cases for AI voice are inbound routing. So think of anywhere where an IVR used to be. After hours conversations, remarketing once the consumer has already interacted extensively with the brand and wants to talk with, doesn't want to text, wants to talk, but wants to do it on their own time. Those are great applications for AI voice. And I'd imagine as that continues to get better and better in weeks and months, not years, we will see expanded applications of it, especially as consumers warm up to the idea of talking with a virtual agent versus a human. But those first...
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
No, I was just going to say, for those first impressions and during the moments that matter in acquisition, in claims, and retention, that human touch is still as important as it's ever been.
Yeah, and that's always I think it's always going to be the case for at least the foreseeable future. It does play such a key role. Even, we saw just outside of contact strategy, but with like embedded RC1s and embedded quotes, like trying to take that all the way through to bind through a digital experience. There still wasn't a need to talk with an agent. It's a decision, right? It's like you want to make sure that because at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is insurance policies, right? You're getting an insurance policy. So you as the consumer want to ensure that you're getting the right coverage for your own self and your family, right? So that human touch is probably going to be a piece of this for the foreseeable future. But I totally agree. Like the AI fronting, getting away from IVRs, we can't get it away from IVRs fast enough. I think that's just a really hard experience, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to make a claim and you got to sit there and listen to 1, 2, right? Being able to get routed to where you need to be quickly and efficiently. It's better for the user, and 9 times out of 10, you probably will get to the right place as a consumer through that method versus an IVR.
We're working with an insurance provider now who, prior to us engaging on this project together, we found that small double-digit percentages of their inbound phone calls were getting routed to the sales center instead of to claims or customer service, right?
Yep.
So a sales agent who should be spending all day, every day, talking to prospects, qualified prospects, was spending time rerouting those people over to the places that they intended to be. That's a subpar or suboptimal customer experience, to your point, and it's wasting very expensive agent time and resources, not to mention the opportunity cost associated with all the people that they could be talking to during the time that they were supposed to be. Guys, it's a six-figure a month problem for national insurance brands. So I think that AI voice is going to be a great tool for situations like that, and we'll continue to see it mature over time. But caution everybody as using it as a blanket tool for every single job. It's not that.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, for businesses just getting into AI right now, how would you recommend they strike a balance between AI without losing that human touch?
Yeah. We're at this interesting intersection right now that's kind of akin to watching sports on TV when we were kids versus watching sports on TV now. So for a very, very long time, for most of my life, attending a sporting event in person was like the way to experience the sport.
Yeah.
But as technology matured and the cost of going to the game increased, that at-home experience became more and more palatable to all of us. And we're at a point now where, like, a lot of people would actually prefer to just stay at home and watch the game on TV, right? Versus going to a game, even if tickets were free. So I think that's sort of where we're at with AI right now. Like, there was this great session at ITC this year from Drew Aldrich at Viewpoint, and he spoke on the competitive advantages that human producers have still in the age of AI agents. And Drew cautioned everyone against training their human producers to be experts. AI beat our brains at that a long time ago. Rather, the balance to strike here is to derive the empathy of humans with the efficiency of AI. So don't train your human producers to be experts in selling insurance or in every possible coverage limit that exists state by state. We have technology for that now.
Yeah.
Rather, train your human producers to be humane and empathize and deliver an incredible personal customer experience. That's what's going to deliver a higher yield. The data has been democratized. The technology exists for information. Consumers are more informed than they've ever been before they pick up the phone or request a quote. Yeah. That's not what they need help with. They need help with sifting through it. And that's what the human touch can do.
Yeah, completely agreed.
All right, let's get into some final thoughts before moving to our Q&A section. Again, thank you to you both for all your insight today. Thank you for keeping it civil. As a Ravens fan and a Steelers fan, I know it's been difficult, but you've done an excellent job so far. Let's not lose this momentum yet. If there is one thing you want attendees to take away from today's session, what would that be? Jeff, since you're the honored guest today, let's start with you.
I was going to suggest we go with Matt first. I'd say the themes, I think the ideas that we're talking about here are eliminate variability, create consistency in your outreach process, make sure you've got the data and infrastructure to support clean and responsible outreach. Understand that AI is a sidecar, not the answer or a replacement for human producers in most cases, and lean into compliance. It can actually enable your operations. I think those are my big takeaways.
Beautifully summed up. I would say all of those. Plus, I really, really liked your point, Jeff, on the visibility aspect. And I think that's something that we really need to drive home. Just because, in this state, right, where we're seeing, to your point, so much data and knowledge that's being expanded across all parts of our industry and what we're doing. Simple visibility into what's working and what's not, and being able to click that data and then act on it seems simple enough, but it's a problem that has definitely plagued us. And I think you bringing that up is really a strong point. And so I'm with it, and everything else you said was spot on. So.
If you haven't gotten your questions in for Jeff and Matt yet, there is still time. Just be sure to use the questions tab on the right. All right, let's get started with this one. Either of you feel free to jump in. How do you train or align call centers to ensure every agent adheres to consistent, compliant outreach?
Is this a question about how we at CSG do it, or in general, how do you train or align call centers?
I think probably in general.
Yeah.
So I would say, again, it's one where you've got to have the infrastructure in place to monitor and measure what adherence looks like. So, I mean, many call centers have this, but you're recording every phone call for quality assurance and training purposes. You are regularly listening to those calls. So at CSG, we've got a team, including our CEO and co-founder, by the way, who carve out, yeah, you know Jeff Foyer.
I mean, Jeff.
Who carve out time every week to QA phone calls that are being made and ensure that they're adhering to the scripting, ensure that they're that their tone, the pace of their conversation isn't too haste. So I'd say it's just rigorous monitoring, measurement, and coaching where needed.
Yeah. There's tools, right? I think what I love about what you just said is in Jeff listening, even Jeff listening to calls is so important. There are tools to run through scripting, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we talked about earlier was the empathy that is, derived from a human doing that versus an AI. With an AI, you're pretty sure that they're going to hit the script exactly how you want it to hit. There's still going to be a human element here if a person is talking on a phone call with somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So just being able to ensure at the best that you can that you have tools in place and that you're doing things like QA to make sure that your agents are following exactly what that process should look like and that script should be. And then you get into tone and everything else that you spoke about. Totally true. But yeah, auditing is a huge component of this because it is a human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Moving to our next question here, this one for you, Matt. Can ActiveProspect integrate with CSG to send acquired leads directly to them to work?
Absolutely. And I'll touch back on what we do with Lead Conduit, and that's exactly what it is, right? We're taking in all of the lead partners' leads that are being generated in real time, scrubbing, making sure they're qualified, and then having an endpoint. So that endpoint could be CSG or contact solution that would come right through to Jeff and his team to work immediately while also hitting a CRM or a lead management system.
Yeah. I'll add an anecdote to help to paint this for everybody. So we're currently talking to a large head of distribution at an insurance carrier, or a head of a distribution at a large insurance carrier. I'm not commenting on this person's size. So this person's interest is they are spending millions of dollars in leads per month and distributing them out to the agents assigned to those territories. And as we talked about, all they can see is whether they've issued a quote and whether they closed a sale. And so they don't know whether these leads are even being worked, let alone how many times they're being worked. All the stuff that we talked about today.
Yeah.
So if you think about a centralized lead marketplace or an LMS like a Lead Conduit, sending those leads directly to a systematic outreach and connections provider like a CSG, we could be the tip of the spear, front line of offense to make sure every lead is worked the same. And the carrier loves it because they're making better use of their spend. The agents love it because their phones just start ringing, or they have got 3 appointments set up for themselves the following day. So everybody wins all around as long as the commercials and economics work, right?
Yeah. Our next question here, I don't even have to throw it out there. The listener did the best job for us. For Jeff, what's the best way to reach an insurance customer earlier in the shopping journey?
Yeah, I'm guessing pre-lead, maybe even. Yeah. So there are, I would say this is a great application of various data sets that are out there for signaling and alerts. So there are various types of trigger leads, various types of shopping alerts from very large brands that I've seen be very successful in engaging consumers earlier in the buying journey.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'd recommend using. But just like I said, all data, even the best data, falls on its face if it's not deployed properly. So if you're going to engage with folks early in the shopping journey, make sure that you know what you're going to do with them down funnel.
Yeah, and just, so we can kind of close the loop on that one too. If by early we're talking about before quote or bind even, I think what we talked about earlier with a good cadence of call and text will probably be the best bet. Jeff, I don't know if there's additional insight there if we're talking about that period of time before when that lead's generated to that quote.
Yeah. So we toy with this regularly. Do you first text and announce who you are and then you call? Do you call first, leave a voicemail, and follow up with a text announcing when you're going to call next? These are all things that you test into, and it varies by the use case and frankly, by the brand loyalty and recognition as well. So
Right.
all of those things are on a campaign by campaign basis. But yeah, all things to be considered. There's no best way. You just kind of need to test into it.
Right. And if you think about just at face value, if it's a single agent who is doing this, I'm telling you, they're not thinking about that in that way. Right. So asking someone,
shouldn't.
Huh?
As they shouldn't, right? They're
Exactly.
running a business. They're trying to grow and retain as much business as they possibly can. They're making decisions about what is the best use of my next second, my next minute, my next hour. We all are. So the more that the enterprise can do some of that work for them systematically, the better.
Yep, agreed.
And that's going to wrap it up for us today and for the year. A huge thank you to Jeff for taking time out of his busy schedule and joining us today. And thank you to Matt for helping bring us all together. Also, thank you to all of our Rockstar subscribers and to everyone who showed up today and transformed this webinar into a lively discussion. We know insurance sometimes can bring us down, but you all, and our panelists, help bring this up. And with that, ActiveProspect's 2025 webinar series has come to a close. Have no fear, we'll be back in January with a product-centric webinar that will help set the stage for our best year yet. Lastly, if you'd like to continue this conversation, please reach out to us via the pinned comment in the chat or by answering our latest poll. Again, I'm Andrew Bailey. Have a great day and even better Thanksgiving. Go Lions, and we'll see you in 2026.